My sister said to my 8-year-old son, "Thanksgiving turkey is for family, not for you." Everyone chuckled. I took his hand and left without a word. A week later I posted our Bora Bora vacation. Private villa, boat tour, sunset dinners. $9,700 total. She called screaming, "Where'd the money come from?" I said, "From canceling your rent." My sister Meredith had always taken too many liberties. With my time, with my money, with my kindness, and especially with my silence. She never asked. She expected. And somehow everyone around us just let her get away with it. Our parents always said things like, "That's just Meredith," like she was a toddler throwing a tantrum instead of a grown woman with a 16-year-old daughter and a fully functioning mouth she only ever used to insult or demand. The truth is I enabled it. I covered for her. Paid her rent for the last year and a half. Not because she begged but because I knew she wouldn't ask. She'd just drop hints about tight months and slow payments, and let the silence linger. I took the bait. I always did. She never once said thank you. Not once. And what's worse is that she never liked my daughter Ava. It wasn't anything obvious. Meredith knew better than that. But it showed in the little digs, the forced smiles, the way she kept Camilla close and always acted like Ava was just some outsider tagging along. Ava was smarter, more thoughtful, and it drove Meredith insane. I think she always resented the fact that Ava never tried to impress her. And of course Lucas, my youngest, got the same treatment, just colder and less clever. So this Thanksgiving I don't know what I expected. Maybe I thought this year would be different. Maybe I was just stupid. The morning went smoothly. Lucas helped me in the kitchen, asking 1,000 questions like always. He was fascinated by the turkey, especially once I told him it had to cook for hours. I'd never seen him so excited for a meal. He set the table, folded the napkins, even asked if we could light candles. He was trying so hard. Our parents arrived first as usual. Dad brought wine, Mom brought unsolicited advice. Then Camilla walked in without knocking and Meredith followed 2 minutes later, already complaining about traffic. No hello, no thanks, no asking if I needed help. She brought nothing. Not even dessert. She didn't even take off her sunglasses until she sat down. Dinner started awkwardly. Meredith dominated the conversation, talking about a friend of hers who'd gotten plastic surgery, then laughed about how she might get her lips done next. My parents nodded like this was normal dinner talk. Camilla barely looked up from her phone. And Ava just sat there quiet, already knowing how the night would go. Then Lucas reached toward the turkey. He didn't grab it. He just looked up at me smiling. Like he was proud. Like he thought this was his moment. That's when Meredith leaned back in her chair and said with that smug little smirk, "Thanksgiving turkey is for family, not for you." And they laughed. Not a belly laugh. Just a light chuckle around the table like she'd made a clever little joke. Even my dad smiled like it was no big deal. I looked at Lucas. His hand was still in the air. But he didn't move. He didn't speak. His eyes dropped back to his plate and the smile vanished. I stood up, walked over and took his hand. I didn't say a word. Not to her, not to anyone. We walked out the front door. Left the whole meal behind. Lucas didn't ask where we were going. He just got in the car. I made grilled cheese at home. We watched SpongeBob. He laughed once or twice. But I couldn't stop thinking about all the times I told him to respect Meredith. All the times I told him to just let Camilla's jabs go. All the times I let my kids feel small to keep the peace. Not anymore. That night after Lucas went to bed, I opened my laptop and stared at the Bora Bora listing I'd saved months ago. A dream trip. A fantasy. Private villa. Overwater deck. Chef-prepared dinners. Boat tour included. $9,700. Non-refundable. I clicked confirm. Then I logged into my bank app and canceled the monthly payment I'd been sending to Meredith's landlord for the last 18 months. $2,000. Gone. I didn't tell her. I didn't tell anyone. But I knew exactly what was coming. Meredith found out 3 days later. Not from me. From her landlord. I'd been waiting for it. I figured she'd call me the second the rent bounced, but she didn't. Instead she called my mother. Who then called me, whispering like she was sharing government secrets. "Did something happen between you and your sister?" She said. Meredith was stressed. Confused. She hadn't told anyone I was covering her rent, of course. Just that she was expecting a transfer that didn't come through. I told my mom I had nothing to say. She didn't like that. She hung up in silence, which I honestly appreciated more than one of her guilt trip speeches. The truth is I was already gone. Ava and I flew out that same day. First class to Tahiti, boat to the villa. No one knew where we were except for Ava's best friend's mom in case of emergencies. It was the most impulsive thing I've ever done in my life and I didn't regret it for a second. The villa was even better than the pictures. White curtains swaying in the breeze. Ocean so blue it looked fake. Sunsets that made you forget everything. Ava cried when we got there. I did too, just not where she could see. On the third night I posted a photo. It was a wide shot of the water from our deck. 2 plates of fresh grilled fish, champagne, Ava's legs dipped in the ocean. I didn't tag the location. I didn't say where we were. Just wrote grateful. It took less than 10 minutes. Meredith called me 6 times in a row. Then she texted in all caps. Where are you? I didn't answer. She texted again. How are you affording this? Then where's my rent? I blocked her. She started calling from Camilla's phone. Then texting from a number I didn't recognize. Then voice messages that I didn't listen to. It was like she had completely lost her mind. But I wasn't thinking about her anymore. I was thinking about Ava. About how different she looked in Bora Bora. Relaxed, free, like someone who finally didn't have to defend herself in every room. We spent our days swimming, snorkeling, reading under the sun. And our nights eating food so good it made us cry laughing. On day 6 I posted a video of Ava jumping off the boat into the water, and that's when things exploded. My dad texted a long paragraph about how family needs to stick together, and how I shouldn't abandon my sister during a difficult time. My mom sent a much shorter message. I hope you're proud of yourself. I didn't respond to either of them. On day 8 we flew back. The second I turned my phone on at LAX, Meredith was already calling again. I blocked the new number. Then I looked at Ava and told her we were going to stop by Grandma and Grandpa's real quick. Just to say hi. She didn't argue. He never did. Not about that. But I already knew what was waiting for us there. I just didn't expect who else would be in the room when we walked in. Meredith. Reddit. Arms crossed. Camilla. Silent. My mother. Tense. And sitting across from all of them sipping tea like he was at a dinner party. Our Uncle James. The one person in the family who never tolerated Meredith's drama. The one person she never managed to manipulate. He looked at me when I walked in and said, finally. Uncle James was already seated in the living room when we walked into my parents' house, sipping tea like this was a casual Tuesday, not a landmine waiting to explode. Meredith was pacing, her eyes red and puffy, but still full of that same entitlement she wore like perfume. Camilla sat hunched in the corner, glued to her phone, avoiding eye contact. My mother looked anxious. My father was stiff, standing like a soldier by the window. No one said hello. Not even Ava. She just stood next to me silent. I knew the second I saw James that this wasn't going to go the way they thought. He was my dad's older brother, the one no one ever really wanted to involve unless something got truly out of control. Which told me that Meredith had already gone crying to everyone who would listen, and then probably some who wouldn't. James wasn't here to play peacemaker. He was here because someone finally called in the adult. My mom was the first to speak, and of course she started with guilt. She talked about how family needs to work things out, how disappearing without warning had hurt everyone, how Meredith was in a difficult situation. She used words like misunderstanding and poor communication. I let her talk. I wasn't here to argue. I just wanted to hear how far they'd go to protect someone who never protected anyone but herself. Then Meredith jumped in. She didn't waste time with soft language. She went straight to accusations. Her voice was louder than necessary, like she wanted to be sure no one missed a word. She said I humiliated her in front of the family by storming out on Thanksgiving. That I was flaunting my ridiculous vacation online just to rub it in her face. She screamed about the rent, how the landlord called her twice in 1 week, how she almost got a 3-day notice, how I completely blindsided her. She kept asking the same question over and over, louder each time. Where did the money come from? That's when I looked at her and said it. From canceling your rent. Silence. It was like the air got sucked out of the room. My mother opened her mouth but nothing came out. My father looked like he wanted to speak but was still calculating the safest angle. Meredith froze, and for one brief, perfect second she couldn't think of a comeback. And then she lost it. You can't just do that. You know I needed that money. I stared at her. No, you expected that money. Big difference. Uncle James set his cup down and leaned forward. He said, so let me get this straight. Karen pays your rent for over a year. Hosts Thanksgiving. Feeds your child. And the first thing you do is insult her son at her own dinner table? He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He looked at our parents next. And you two stood there and let her laugh at your grandson? My mom tried to say she didn't think Meredith was serious. My dad mumbled something about not wanting to escalate things. James just stared at them. He said, you raised 2 daughters. One of them took care of everyone. The other took from everyone. And now you're angry at the one who finally stopped handing things over? It was the first time anyone in the family had ever said it out loud. Meredith tried to deflect. Said I was showing off, that I abandoned her when she needed help, that I was acting like I was better than everyone else. Then she made a mistake. She said, you don't get to cut me off like this. You're my sister. I looked at her. Really looked at her. And I realized she still didn't get it. I said, you're not owed anything because of blood. Then I told her and everyone else in the room that she would never get another dollar from me. Not now. Not ever. She said she didn't care. She said I was selfish. She said I was tearing the family apart. Then Ava stepped forward. She looked around the room, at her grandparents, at her aunt, even at Camilla, and said maybe the family tore us apart. No one responded. I didn't say goodbye. I just turned and walked out, Ava behind me. On the way home I blocked Meredith. Then I blocked my mom. And my dad. I didn't even flinch. And for the first time in years I drove in silence, not out of tension but peace. I'd finally stopped giving to people who only took. It started again on Saturday. Ava and I were just getting ready to go out. Simple day, brunch in a bookstore, nothing dramatic, when my phone lit up. My mom. I didn't even have to read it to know the tone. Can you come by today? We need to talk. It's important. I ignored it. 20 minutes later, another message. This time, your father has something to ask you. Don't shut us out. I took a breath. Put the phone face down. Ava didn't ask. She didn't have to. She saw everything in my silence. We got in the car, drove downtown, had pancakes at this spot Ava liked, browsed through a used bookstore where she found a copy of Wuthering Heights with someone's old love note written inside the back cover. It felt like a normal day. Something I hadn't had in years. And then, right before the movie started, I checked my phone again. Third message. Different tone. Can you send $1,200 by Monday? Just this once. I sat there for a moment staring at it. There was no preamble. No explanation. Just a dollar amount and a deadline. Like I was some kind of ATM. I didn't reply. We got home later that evening. Ava went upstairs to shower and I stayed downstairs with a glass of wine, scrolling through my Bora Bora photos. Not out of vanity, but to remind myself that I'd actually done it. That I had pulled the trigger. That I had finally chosen me. That's when the phone buzzed again. This time my dad. You've made your point. Now don't be foolish. Family helps family. Right. Family helps family. Unless you're me. Then family expects without limits. No matter how tired you are. No matter how much you've already given. Sunday around 3 p.m. I heard a knock at the door. I checked the peephole. My father. Alone. I opened the door just enough to see his face but not enough to let him in. He didn't say hi. Just went straight into it. He said things had gotten a little out of hand. That Meredith was a mess but this wasn't the way to handle it. That my mom was upset and worried. Then he paused, looked at me and said something I didn't see coming. He said, Meredith told us you promised to pay her rent for 2 full years. I stared at him, confused. Last year. She said you told her you'd cover it until she was stable again. I shook my head. That conversation never happened. I never said that. In fact, I remember distinctly thinking I'd cut it off sooner, but every time I got close to pulling the plug, Meredith would drop some new crisis into the mix. And every time I caved. I told him she lied. He didn't argue. He just looked tired. Worn down. Then he said, we just didn't expect you to be so final about it. And that's what pissed me off. That word. Final. As if I was ending something that still had life left in it. As if I hadn't spent years quietly sacrificing while everyone else treated me like a reliable piece of furniture they didn't have to thank. So I said it. It's not final. It's overdue. I reminded him of everything. The holidays, the money, the times I stepped in without being asked. How I let them all overlook Ava. How I let Meredith mock Lucas. How I even scolded my kids to respect their elders, when those elders weren't doing a damn thing to earn it. And all he could say was, but we're family. I told him family doesn't make you feel used. Family doesn't only call when they want something. He left without another word. That night my mom sent one more message. You're punishing everyone because of a petty joke. You're being selfish. I didn't respond. I blocked her. Then something else happened. Ava came downstairs holding her phone. She looked unsure whether to show me, but finally she just held it out. It was a message from Camilla. What did you do to my mom? She hasn't gotten out of bed in 3 days. You broke something. I scrolled up. Camilla had been trying to bait her for a while. Little jabs, sarcastic comments, all of it ignored by Ava. This was the first one that hinted Meredith had actually cracked. I gave Ava a look but I didn't say anything. She said she didn't plan to answer. And then on Tuesday the mail came. Real mail. A white envelope with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper folded into thirds. Neat handwriting I recognized instantly. Uncle James. It said, you were never the problem. I saw it long ago. I'm sorry it took everyone else this long. You did the right thing. Don't go back. That was it. No signature. Just truth. And I realized something. They weren't going to stop coming for me. But I had finally stopped opening the door. By Friday the noise hadn't stopped. It had just changed. The calls weren't coming from Meredith anymore. She was silent, strangely. But my mother was picking up the slack. She'd cycled through texts, voicemails, even email. I knew because the subject lines alone told me everything I needed to know. We need to talk. Are you really doing this? Your sister isn't well. You're being unfair, Karen. There was nothing to reply to. She wasn't asking anything. He was trying to bait me back in. That morning I found a letter slipped under my front door. No stamp. Hand-delivered. Just my name on the front. Inside was a folded piece of notebook paper in my mother's handwriting. Meredith hasn't left her apartment in days. She says you've destroyed her life. I know things were said at Thanksgiving that shouldn't have been, but please don't let this go on any longer. We're your parents. We're not perfect, but we've always tried. Don't abandon us. I crumpled it and tossed it without thinking. And the worst part? I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel guilty. I felt like I was being dragged toward a fire I had already walked through. A fire I had already survived. Around noon, Ava and I were planning a weekend hike when the doorbell rang. He peeked through the window. It's a delivery guy. I opened the door and signed for a box. No sender. No note. Inside, a pie. Apple. The same bakery Meredith always used when she didn't want to say sorry but wanted to seem like she had. That pie was her entire personality. Sweet on the outside, nothing real underneath. I tossed it still sealed. An hour later my phone buzzed again. New number. Voicemail. I didn't want to listen but something made me tap play. It was my mother. Her voice was soft, like she was forcing herself to sound calm. She said Meredith wasn't eating. That she hadn't gone to work. That she told them I publicly humiliated her by flaunting our Bora Bora trip all over social media while she was barely holding it together. My mom said it was cruel. That I was letting jealousy and old resentment cloud my judgment. Jealousy. That word. As if I'd ever wanted her life. As if struggling to raise 2 kids on one income, while secretly floating someone else's bills, was luxury. And just when I thought it couldn't get more absurd, she said, "You're the stronger one. Be the bigger person. Come home. Fix this. Fix this." Like I broke it. I stared out the window watching Ava water the plants, laughing about something on her phone. That girl had spent her childhood watching me hold the weight of 3 other adults just to keep the illusion of peace. And now they wanted me to go back. Sunday morning, a final message. My dad this time. Your mother cried herself to sleep again. She says she's lost both daughters. You may not care about Meredith anymore, but don't abandon us. It was the first time he'd said something emotional. Normally he hid behind my mom's words. Now it was his own. But still they didn't get it. I hadn't walked away because of a pie or a comment at dinner or a vacation. I walked away because for years I gave and gave and gave, and the moment I stopped I became the villain. That night, Ava came downstairs with her phone in her hand, hesitant. It's from Camilla. She sent me a paragraph. I nodded. You don't have to read it to me. She hesitated, then did anyway. What did you do to my mom? She hasn't gotten up in days. My grandparents are freaking out. Are you proud of yourself? Ava looked at me and said, I didn't answer. I won't. I told her, good. Let them sit in the quiet for once. I could feel it happening. Not all at once but slowly. The cord was cutting itself. One string at a time. Then Tuesday morning I got something I never expected. Real mail. Plain envelope. No return address. The writing on the front was neat, formal, old-fashioned. Inside was a single sheet of thick paper folded once. I opened it and sat down. Karen, you were never the problem. I've known that for years. I didn't speak up when I should have. That's on me. But I see what you did now. You made a clean break. You're the only one who's ever had the courage to do it. Don't look back. J. No signature. Just a quiet handwritten confirmation from the only person in the family who ever saw it clearly. Uncle James. I folded the note and put it in the drawer with my passport. The next day I changed my phone number. I didn't tell anyone except Ava. That weekend she and I booked another trip. Nothing flashy. A cabin in Oregon. Mountains, trails, fresh air, a fireplace. No Wi-Fi. No plans. And as I packed I realized something. They weren't going to change. But I had. And there was no going back. The first few days after changing my number felt strange. Not because I missed the messages but because the silence felt unnatural. Like my phone had gone dormant. Like I had stepped out of a room where people were still shouting at each other, and now I was standing outside hearing only birds and wind and my own breath. No more Meredith. No more requests from my parents. No more Camilla trying to guilt-trip Ava from the sidelines. The line had been cut and for once I didn't feel like the bad guy for dropping the scissors. Oregon was cold but beautiful. The cabin had floor-to-ceiling windows and a fireplace that crackled all night. We hiked, we cooked simple meals, we read. Ava sat outside most mornings with a blanket and her headphones, completely at peace in the quiet. I realized then how long we'd both gone without real rest. I thought I'd feel guilt creeping in, but it never came. We were on day 5 when Ava handed me her phone. She'd gotten a message through an old school app. Not even a text, just a digital form thing from the district that went to her old email. She hadn't even realized it was still active. It was from my mother. It said, "Karen has always been emotionally reactive. Please let her know that when she's ready to be a part of the family again, we're here. Until then, we'll be praying for her to come to her senses." Ava stared at it for a long time before saying, "Do they really think this works?" I told her I didn't think they were trying to get through to me anymore. They just wanted to feel like they still had control. Even if it was just over the story. And that's what this had always been. Control. Me paying rent for Meredith? Control. Me staying quiet about her cruelty? Control. Me showing up every year to cook the meal while everyone else brought nothing but judgment? Control. And the moment I said no, the illusion shattered. On our last night at the cabin, Ava asked me if I thought they'd ever really understand what they did. The truth? Probably not. I think they still believed I was punishing them. That my silence was a tantrum, a temporary statement. That I'd come back eventually, humbled and ready to fall in line. But this wasn't a punishment. This was freedom. When we got back to the house, it was like walking into a new version of our life. Same furniture, same kitchen, same street, but different air. Lighter. Cleaner. There wasn't a single voice in my head second-guessing my choices. Just peace. And that's when the last unexpected thing happened. Ava handed me a small envelope. Just a white card with something scribbled on the front in blue pen. It said, "Mom, read this when you're alone." She walked upstairs without another word. I opened it slowly. Inside she'd written, "I've always watched you put everyone first, even people who didn't deserve it. And I was scared you'd never choose yourself. I'm proud of you. Not for the vacation. Not for cutting them off. But for finally saying, enough. I love this version of us. Please don't go back." I didn't cry. But I did sit down and hold that card for a long time. Because for the first time in my life, someone in my family didn't ask me to give more. They just said thank you. That was the moment I knew, really knew, I hadn't lost a family. I had protected the one that mattered most. And the rest? I left them exactly where they wanted to stay. In their version of the story. While we moved on.